Okay, so today we're setting up the Aquila RTF kit. Now, if you're coming from my first impressions and specifications video, welcome back to the channel and thank you. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave it linked above and below so you can take a look at it. So we have all our parts here for the RTF kit, including our drone, the radio, and our goggles. And the first thing we want to do is charge the batteries for each one of these devices. We're going to start with the batteries for the drone. So we have two batteries on here. These are 1S batteries. They're good for around 1100 milliamp hour, good for 8 minutes of flight time. And we'll see if that's true. Now, BetaFPV has made this a little bit easier by including some extenders or power leads for these batteries. And it's as simply as plugging this into the BT 2.0 connector and plugging the other end into the included charger on here. Now there's two ports on here, so you can charge both batteries simultaneously. In this case, we're just gonna do one for now. And as you can see in the lower port, it says test. Now this is a battery charger and a tester as well. If you put this in the test port, it will show you the actual voltage for this battery. And as you can see, it shows 4.31. So this battery is charged. I did charge this before we started the filming here today. Now, using this included charger, BetaFPV says this is going to take around 60 minutes to charge these both batteries. Now, if you are going to invest in the FPV system, you might want to get more than two batteries. In that case, you might want to invest also in a third-party charger. I have one here. This is the Vifly Whoopstar 2. There's also a Whoopstar 3, and this is really good for 1S batteries. And as you can see, we have the BT 2.0 connector on here as well. So this is a really good investment, and I'll leave a link down below where you can find this. I've also done a full review on this as well if you want to invest in this charger. Now, the second device that you want to charge is your radio. This is the Light Radio 2 right here, and you have a USB-C port underneath the radio. Now, BetaFPV does include this USB-C to USB-A cable, and we're going to plug it in right now and see how this thing here works. And as you can see, it's glowing red, which is what it should do. Once it's fully charged, it will go off. So pretty cool feature here, and this one here is fully charged as well, as I charged it before this video. Last but not least, we have the goggles on here, and this one has an internal battery in it. And it's the same USB-C cable. Plug it in here and you should see a light next to the plug, and that's a blue light. And this should also go out once the battery is charged. Now this one here has been charging overnight, so it's a full charge on our goggles. Okay, now that we have all batteries charged, let's set up our devices. The first thing we're gonna do is set up the goggles, since we'll be needing this to set up our drone. And the first thing that we have here is the actual head strap. And this is fully customizable to each person, so this is gonna vary. And we're just gonna slip this through here. Pretty easy. And I can just slip this through here and then just put that to the side. Same for the other side. Okay, so now that we have our 3 mounting points on here, you can test fit this and see how this fits. This one feels a little bit slack. I can make this a little bit tighter in my case here. But it actually works pretty good. And now that I have the straps on, I can see how comfortable it is. And it's relatively comfortable, guys, not too bad. You have this leather pad on here, and this overall goggles isn't too heavy. Now, the next thing you want to do here is put your SD card in your goggles so you can record your flights. I do highly recommend you get a SD card for this. Now, this goggle supports up to 64 gigs. I do have a 64 gig micro SD card in here. I'm just going to put this in here. And now we're good. Besides that, you want to get familiar with the navigation on this goggles. You have the power switch on the side. We talked about the USB-C to charge it. And then you have the record, and then you have your channel and band buttons up here, as well as a search button. In my case, we're just going to power up this drone, hit the search button, and see if it finds the correct channel. If you do know the specific channel for your drones, then you can go band or channel and cycle to the actual bands and channel for your specific drones. We're going to put this to the side. And last but not least, we have the drone here. This thing looks really, really nice. This drone comes fully complete and fully installed here. There's nothing to install on this drone. The only thing that you might want to consider is changing the angle for your camera. In this case, mine looks a little bit high on the angle here. I might want to decrease it a little bit. So I'm going to decrease the angle on my camera. Now, you want to install the battery for your drone. It's fairly simple. You have the connector right here, the BT 2.0 connector, and that's going to be inserted into the rear of the drone. You have these 2 grooves, and that goes into the place right here. So we're just going to put that in right there. Looks really good. And then you can use your thumb to just slide this whole thing forward. Now I'm gonna go just a little bit, not all the way up. It's not making contact with the connection yet because I don't wanna turn the drone on yet. Once this thing goes all the way in, the drone will be powered and it could drain your battery and also get the components very warm, including your VTX, as we talked about. That's the visual transmission system, and that broadcasts the information to your goggles. So that could technically overheat if there's a lack of airflow. And at this point, I don't really want to connect the drone. Last but not least is the radio, the Light Radio 2 SE. All right, this thing looks pretty good. The battery's already in here. There's no way to actually get access to the battery. But there's nothing else to do on here. Just put it on if it's fully charged, and that should be good. Now, I don't know if BetaFPV has this already bound or bind to my drone, but we'll talk about the bind process here very, very shortly. Besides that, you want to get very familiar with the switches on your radio, and they are labeled. We do have a SA, SB, SC, and SD. You also have your gimbals on here to actually control the drone. But the main thing here is that you want to be familiar with what each switch actually does. In this case, the SA is the arm and disarm switch, and that actually turns on and off the motors to your drones. This is probably the most important switch on the whole control because you don't know when you are going to crash. You want to know how to start and when to turn off the motors. It's not like a traditional camera drone where it lands automatically and turns off, or you hit a switch and it comes on. This is the only way to turn on and off the switch or the drone. Now, we do also have your SB switch, which actually changes your mode. In this case, we do have a normal, we do have a sport, and we do have a manual mode as well. So we have 3 modes, and the normal mode is very friendly for beginners. It keeps the plane or the drone hovering in place. Very, very low rate, so the drone moves very, very slowly, and you can't really do any rolls or flips with that mode. In the sport mode, you go a little bit faster, you still can't do any rolls. But if you go to the manual mode, then you have full manual control of the drone. And as you gain more experience, you want to go maybe from normal to sport, and then finally to the manual mode. Now on here as well, we have the SC switch, and it's a 3-position switch as well, and that gives you a slow, medium, and fast speeds. And that changes the rate of how this thing accelerates, yaws, and bangs. So just remember that, and we're going to start off in the slowest mode for now. Last but not least, we have the SD switch, and that is the turtle mode or the crash flip mode. And in case you're flying your drone and you do happen to crash the drone and it's upside down, then it's like a turtle on its back. That's why they call it the turtle mode. And instead of walking to the drone, you can actually just hit that switch, arm the drone, and then you can flip the drone back so you can take off again. So it's a pretty cool feature, and almost all FPV drones have that feature as well. Besides that, we do have the 2 gimbals on here. You have the left one, this is a mode 2 radio, and the left one controls your actual engine speed, so you can actually accelerate the motors to go faster up or down, and also a left and right, which changes the yawing on your drone. So you can actually yaw your drone in this vertical axis, left and right. On the right gimbal here, you have your bank. You can bank the drone left and right as well, and forward and back, tipping the drone forward to accelerate or backwards. So the more you use this radio, the more you're gonna get familiar with it. I do highly recommend you use this radio in the sim first of all, and you have the USB-C port for that. Okay, now that we have all our devices here set up, it's time to power on these specific devices. We're gonna start with the goggles here. It's as easy, just putting this power switch on here and this goggles should come to life. As you can see, you have the static on here. Next thing I want to do is power on my radio. Now, I want to have everything in the down position, going down. So I have it in the disarm mode, we have it in the normal mode, we have this in the slow mode, and we have this not in turtle mode, so all facing down. And we're just going to power on this radio. You're going to hear 3 beeps. 1, 2, 3, red, and it should turn blue, which it just did. So we are good here. Now, if you don't have the throttle all the way down, it might just stay in the red until you put this all the way down to idle. And there you go. And that's one thing to also remember as well. This drones, so FPV drones, will not arm or come on unless you have the throttle to idle. It's a safety feature. They don't want you to hit the arm button and then this thing goes full max and just goes to the moon. So it's always good to have this idle before you arm the drone. Now is the time to power on our drone. This is the first time I'm doing this as well. And we're just gonna put our thumbs and force this battery forward. So let's just do that. and you hear those beeps. And you can see the LED lights that we talked about in the first video. You also have your lights under here as well. And now I want to search for my VTX. I'm going to hit the S button on here and see if it finds the VTX and see if it produces an image. It's going to do a search. It's doing it right now as we speak. All right, so there's the image on here. So mine was an F3. The image is pretty nice and clean. Let's hit the record button on here. So to record your video, if you're flying, hit the record button once, and then you're gonna see a red light. Once it starts to flash and when it starts recording, it takes between 8 and 10 seconds. A lot of guys might just hit that button and go fly. Make sure you see it flashing first, and then once it starts to flash, like right now, it's recording. So I can turn this drone towards me. And what do you think? Pretty nice image. I have some nice studio light in here. Awesome. So now we have this VTX bound to the goggles. Let's try to bind this to the drone. Now, let's just see if this is already bound from the factory. I'm just gonna have it idle. I'm gonna put this arm switch to on. There you go. It's already bound to the drone. Now, if you wanna upgrade your radio or this isn't bound to your drone, you have to put the receiver into bind mode, as well as put this into bind mode with this bind button. I have a little Allen key right here. Hit the bind button and it should bind. So now that you know how to put the radio into bind mode, you also have to put the receiver in the drone into bind mode. And that's simply unplugging and plugging the battery into the drone 3 times really quickly. So on, off, on, off, on, off. And then you can hit the bind button and then they will join. So now that we have these two bound together, it's time to go for our first flight. Now, hopefully you've done some time in the simulator, got used to the controls, but here we are. I'm just gonna put this right here and see if this thing takes off and see if this works pretty well. Now, I don't know how this is gonna fly, so I'm gonna step back a little bit and see how this flies. I'm gonna arm it, hit the arm switch, know where this is at all times. That turns on the actual drone and motors. Now to increase the speed, you use your left stick, your left joystick right here, and that should increase the speed and raise the drone to a certain level. Let's see if that works. There you go. All right. So it is stable. Now, I don't know if this table here is doing much for it, this black color. It is going pretty good. So there you go. It is drifting a little bit. It is doing a good job trying to stay stable though. Not bad. Okay, not bad. I don't know if this surface here is doing much for this, because this thing, you don't want to fly this over water because it's hard to detect the depth of the water. All right, I want to do one more thing. This thing is supposed to have auto land. So in case you bump into something, crash pretty hard, if the battery goes really, really low, or if you lose radio link with your radio, then it should auto land. So I'm going to do the one where I put the radio off, lose link. Let's see if that works. All right, let's put it off. Okay, so it did land on its own. Pretty cool. Okay, let's try this on with the goggles. Let's arm this bad boy and see how it flies. A little high on the altitude. Wow, that's pretty cool. All right, so I'm in sport mode here. I don't have any altitude hold on this one. Let's arm. All right, this is more like angle mode here. Not bad. All right, so I'm upside down. Let's see if I can do the turtle mode here. There it is. All right. Easiest way to unplug it is just by using your pointer fingers here, putting your thumb right here, and just pushing this out, and there it goes. So hopefully this video helps you get started with the Aquila16 FPV RTF kit. And in the next video, we're gonna take it outdoors, put it through its paces, do some accurate maneuvers, and see if you get the claimed 8 minutes of flight time with this drone. I'll also give you my final impressions about this drone once I fly it some more, and let you know if I do recommend this RTF kit overall. So if you wanna see that video, hit that subscribe button there for you to be notified whenever I do drop that video. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in that next video. Peace.